Some of what you just described, the need to move money from place to place, the cost of doing so, the overhead, as you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient. The customers we're talking about aren't trying to be anonymous. You know, they're willing to be known. So the Bitcoin technology is key, and you could add to it, or you could build a similar technology where there's enough attribution that people feel comfortable. This has nothing to do with terrorism or any type of money laundering.
Question. Jamie Dimon said it last week. Is Bitcoin a fraud?
There are two things that are required for a currency. The first is that you can make transactions in it. It's a medium of exchange. And the second thing is that it's a storehold of wealth. Those should be the two purposes of a currency. Bitcoin today, you really can't make much transactions in it. I got Bitcoin, I want to go through the experience of spending it. It's not easy. You can't spend it very easily.
Right.
And in terms of a storehold of wealth, it's not an effective storehold of wealth because it has volatility to it, unlike gold, let's say, in which reflects the value of money.
Right.
It's more stable than the value of money. Bitcoin is a highly speculative market. We have these criteria for determining what a bubble is. In other words, we take these criteria. I won't get into them because it'll probably take too long. But these criteria, and we just define a bubble based on those criteria. Bitcoin is a bubble, okay? Bitcoin is a bubble. It's a shame. It could be a currency. It could work, I mean, conceptually. But the amount of speculation that is going on and the lack of transaction, the idea that it'll be private in terms of transaction.
In terms of the government allowing it to be a private currency.
Right. In other words, people won't know what you're doing, and will it be a private currency, is really questionable in terms of if you look at what's being gone on in terms of governments to examine it and so on and so forth. And then when you take Bitcoin, there are other cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin might lose competition to another cryptocurrency. Right. And so is it a cryptocurrency bet that we're making, or is it a Bitcoin bet? It's very much speculative people thinking, can I sell it at a higher price? And so it's a bubble.
First of all, I would like to know a little bit more of your background. So, as many Bitcoin supporters, you have a past as a skeptic. So, how did you transition from being a Bitcoin skeptic to a Bitcoin believer?
Yeah, you know, it's actually really interesting in that had I been less skeptical, I'd be a lot wealthier, but that's okay. So, look, My history goes way back. You know, I came out of school, business school, went to work for an insurance company, managed bonds, and worked for an equity firm. Then I kind of went back to my alma mater, worked in the endowment world, and the endowment model really taught me all about investing in private investments, particularly venture capital. And I had this aha moment in 1996. We invested a little bit of money in this little company called Google. $500,000 turned into 200 million. I joke there should be a quad at Notre Dame called the Google Quad. And essentially what that did is it made me realize that infrastructure around these technological innovation waves really matter. So fast forward to 2013, I had invested with a friend, Dan Moorhead, in his macro fund when he spun out of Tiger. And he called me up and said, hey, come to San Francisco. I want to tell you about what I'm going to do. And went out there and he said, look, I'm going to shut down my hedge fund and I'm going to spend the rest of my career focused on Bitcoin and blockchain. And look, I wasn't running drugs on Silk Road. I was not a cryptography student. I didn't know what Bitcoin was in 2013. Unfortunately, I joke, you know, the Winklevoss twins and I were introduced to Bitcoin about the exact same time. They're multi-billionaires. I'm not. So be it. Now, I also defend myself saying I didn't have $500 million to put into it, but I had something, but I didn't do it because even though Dan had conviction about it, I was skeptical. I didn't really understand. Now, what I did understand was infrastructure. So investing in his early funds has been great. Those funds are up 11, 12x. I think now more with the FTX deal. But that pales in comparison to the Bitcoin fund, which is up 350 times, best performing hedge fund in the history of hedge funds. So the short version of a very long tale, a lot of people have heard it already, is about 9 months later, I wrote one paragraph in a letter to investors, 40 pages, one paragraph saying Bitcoin might be an interesting special situation. Maybe throw a few basis points in, price was $500. I got hate, Giovanni. I got hate from my clients. I mean, like, we'll fire you. Don't talk about this stupid stuff. Go back to doing your job. It's like, wow. I mean, that is a violent reaction. So now what's interesting about that, the skepticism was, quote unquote, proven right in that the price fell. Over the next few months, the price went from $500 all the way down to $185. And of course, I said, oh, see, everyone was right. No, they weren't right. Price is a liar. Stole that from John Burbank. And the value kept accreting. The value kept going up. So that was 2015. 2016, I finally got over the skepticism. Why? Because I did the work. I actually spent a year diving deeply into the technology, reading the white papers, really looking and talking to other people. And I had this aha moment. I mean, I couldn't make this up. I was literally behind the wheel of an RV in Eureka, California. And it hit me that this is simply an operating system. The blockchain technology is an operating system for the Internet of Value. And the Internet of Value will be bigger than the Internet, will be bigger than the mobile net. And Bitcoin and other things are going to power that. Other cryptocurrencies are going to power that. And so finally convinced some clients to go in. 2017, finally took the really full plunge and formed Morgan Creek Digital, a subsidiary of Morgan Creek Capital. And over those last 4 years, I went from spending 5-10% of my time on this to now close to 100% of my time.
Yeah, and actually now I would like to talk about the value, the actual exponential increase in value that this technology can spark. So as far as I remember, one of your most famous price prediction for Bitcoin was $250,000 within the next 5 years. So can you maybe explain us how do you think that Bitcoin is going to reach that value within this time frame?
Yep. So that actually is kind of a paring back of my original comment, which was Bitcoin gold equivalence. So if I believe that Bitcoin is digital gold, which I do, digital money, then gold's total market cap is about 8 trillion. 8 trillion divided by the number of Bitcoin gives you a price of around $500,000 a coin. But a couple months ago, I guess 9 months ago or so, someone asked me the question. I said, well, they said, what's the short-term view? I said, well, if you think about it, all the gold really doesn't make sense because about half the gold is jewelry and chalices and stuff that doesn't get really traded very often. The monetary value of gold is about 4 trillion. That's for sure where Bitcoin's going. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that we're going there. And that's about a 10-bagger from here. So at, or actually it was a 10-bagger from back then. So about 5-bagger from here. So that is, from 50,000 right around to 250,000. And I said about a 3 to 5 year period. And the challenge is the price has euphoria and fear. And so you have the line of value and the price goes up and down above and below it. And so how quickly we get to that price, like there were a whole bunch of people this year. Like if you looked at the core model, it basically said the value of the network around now would be around $100,000.
Different question it's a little bit off topic, but it's in the news or it's becoming more in the news. So it's about crypto assets, crypto,
Crypto, seriously?
Chris, seriously, very seriously. I think you and Jack Dorsey have chatted a bit recently about this, right?
Bitcoin and Ethereum scammers were so rampant on Twitter that I said just join in. It's like, I said like 1 point, want to buy some Bitcoin?
Yes.
And then I got my account got suspended because they obviously had like some automatic rule that would, if you try to sell Bitcoin or something. But I was just joking.
Yeah. So my question is it's a little different from cryptocurrencies. Although, given your history in the payments ecosystem, it would be very interesting to know if you agree with Jack and there is going to be one native cryptocurrency when it comes to the internet. He thinks it's Bitcoin.
It's interesting. I have some friends of mine that are really involved in crypto. I mean, I think like the Bitcoin structure was quite brilliant. Yeah, it seems like there's some merit to Ethereum as well. And maybe some of the others. But, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it would be a good use of Tesla resources to get involved in crypto. I mean, we're really just trying to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. And I mean, I think actually one of the downsides of crypto is that computationally, it's like quite energy intensive. So like there had to be some kind of constraint on the creation of crypto. So, but it's very energy intensive to create like the incremental Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah, but by the same time, there were $1.3 trillion worth of transactions in Bitcoin, and we don't see it here because it's not for pizza or Coke. It's business to business in Africa. Yeah, but we think it is business to business in Africa, where it is prohibitively expensive to convert from one nation's currency to another. You have to go through the dollar. I mean, it really is very important it's money over IP for them. It's free transmission of money. And that's really important to opening up the world. And, Yeah.
It bypasses currency controls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's
well, and
paper money is going away.
Yes.
And crypto is a far better way to transfer value than pieces of paper. That's for sure.
Without a doubt.
That has its pros and cons.
Just to clarify, Tesla's not going to start selling Bitcoin anytime soon.
Not.
Okay, you heard it here first, even though everyone thought that.
No.
Well, I've actually been reading a lot about it, and I'm trying to diversify my investment portfolio. My question is, what is Dogecoin?
I'm glad you asked. It's a good question. Well, it's the future of currency. It's an unstoppable financial vehicle that's going to take over the world.
I get that, but what is it, man?
I keep telling you, it's a cryptocurrency you can trade for conventional money.
Oh, so it's a hustle.
Yeah, it's a hustle.
Why didn't you say that, man? Don't fall to everybody. It's a hustle.
To the